Hello everyone, this is Panda doing a practice cast for the neogaf 1v1 North American Starcraft 2 tournament. I'll be casting a game between ZealousD, here as the orange Protoss, and myself, up in the top right, as the yellow Zerg. Now, Zerg versus Protoss, the major complaint you have to worry about would be some sort of 2-gate, either as a proxy 2-gate, probably closer to the middle on a map like that, or even just back here. 2-gate can still be very, very powerful. Throw a lot of Zealots your way and force a lot of defense from the Zerg. Other than that, it's actually a fairly decent macro map since you have an expand here behind the destructible rocks. It is open to pressure from the Protoss to this ramp here, but you also have a natural down here that does not have a cliff immediately covering it, so it's not like the Protoss can just sit a bunch of Colossus up here and just completely destroy your miners and pretty much dominate your mineral line. So the Zerg can fairly confidently take this and then just cover the area with speedlings, lots of creep, and mostly just bounce back between these 2 points before eventually knocking down these destructible rocks and taking this gold, which is also fairly safe since it is itself on the high ground. Other people would say, why don't you just sit a bunch of units up here and then just rush between this base up here and this base down here. And that would be, they would suggest that would be a little bit safer since you only really have to worry about this and this area here. There is some merit to that point. Personally, I think that's a little bit too defensive, since if you are here, you can pretty much immediately move out, intercept units that are moving through this high ground, or take a long way around and catch a Protoss that is trying to set up a forward pylon, keep his forces safe behind this shrubbery. Anyway, back to the actual matchup. Zealous is throwing down a cyborg core, but he hasn't actually gassed yet, so I'm not really sure why he would do that, since it's normal for a Protoss to at least throw down one assimilator before the cyborg core goes down. At this point, this core is half done. He's only got 1 gate, 1 Zealot, and still no assimilators. Wow, why would he do that? And he won't even have the gas for a fast stalker, which he doesn't really need versus Zerg. But since he does appear to be throwing down a forward pylon up here, you would think he would be going for a very, very early warp gate pressure. But core is down and he's only now building the assimilator, so these warp gates will be extremely delayed. And as you can see from my overload here, I have already spotted the pylon, so that probably won't play any part in this game. Well, it definitely won't play any part, since I have a few Zerglings up here, and once I notice it on my map, I'll be able to take that out. A couple more gateways going down, more pylons. Assimilator is finally up and mining, but as you can see, he's still only on 12 gas. It's almost 5 minutes in the game, and he can't even think about going warp gates yet. Meanwhile, I have already begun my speed. I did a little frown town because I spot this, but as I was saying, it wasn't really ever going to be much of a factor. If you didn't want to hide it, I would have suggested throwing a probe up here and just dropping the pylon in this fog of war so that you would have immediate sight down here, and any units just sitting down here watching the forward rocks would be able to see it. This would be very effective against a Terran who doesn't have the advantage of Overlord sight on the high ground, so it would be normal for a Terran to, just like throw a supply depot down here and, check on the rocks every now and then. But you would never be able to see up into this high ground like I can with this Overlord. You could just plop this down, just warp in some DTs, some units, and just go to town while your main forces are occupying the Terrans down here. As you can see, I've already begun an expand and a roach ward. Check production. Zealous is working on his warp gates and powering up a lot of Zealots. A dangerously large amount of Zealots. He's probably going Zealots because he has played me a few times before and he knows how much I like my speedlings. Already you can see my speed upgrade is finished and I'm beginning to spread my creep down to my expand. Expand finishes, Roach Warden finishes, Lair finishes. Isn't it nice when everything just finishes? All nice, pretty, all at one time. Started my second queen, powering roaches, powering drones. I do have a slight drone advantage, but not enough to make a huge issue. And Zealous is already sending out his push. Looks like his warp gates have finished. Excuse me. Since I do have both Xel'Naga watchtowers, no matter which route he takes on this map, I will be able to see them. So I can see that there are a lot of Zealots coming my way. Throwing down a couple spine crawlers just to be safe. Considering the timing of this push, I can assume that there's going to be a forward pylon. So I can throw down these spine crawlers fairly safely, knowing that at the very least I have to wait. He has to wait for this to finish so that he can reinforce his army. Really, this gives me a lot of time to build up my own forces, throw down these overseers in case that this was some sort of Dark Templar timing push. So if you can control these Xel'Naga watchtowers, it's really amazing, like the kind of versatility it gives you. I mean, you can't really exaggerate the amount of strength having this tower is. I mean, you can look at it and say, okay, I see this push is coming, I can now move my forces into place. But since I'm playing Zerg, I see this push is coming, and I can go from having a drone advantage to pumping out an entire army. I mean, like most of these roaches, this section of Zerglings here, these spine crawlers. I mean, I didn't have any of that until I saw these forces coming. So I can pretty much power drones, power hatcheries, get my queens out. And if I do see something coming off of these towers, bang, bang, boom, I have an army. I mean, his pylon has just finished, his forces are coming out. This is what I've managed to build just in the time it's taken him to cross the map. Zealous being very, very smart, force fielding up this part of the ramp so that he can take this queen and these spine crawlers pretty much for free. These guys are apparently on a rally syndrome. But unfortunately he gets a little bit overeager, moves in, his zealots get way too far ahead, giving my Zerglings pretty much a free shot, a lot of his sentries and stalkers. He's still reinforcing though with his pylon. Since I have already gotten down roach speed, I can pretty much just run these things back and forth, pick off as many zealots as I want for free, and once my second group spawned, I can clean this up. More stalkers coming in, but I imagine Zealous will stop pretty much any minute now. Checking the production tab, you can see I had already started building up a couple drones. Zealous has used this time not only to set up and expand, but to throw down this robotics facility, begin powering out an immortal. Pylon's still there, but looks like Zealous has pretty much entirely given this up. He has let money build up in the bank, but he has warp gates, so it's not a huge issue. Probably just hasn't decided if he wants to keep this up or entirely reinforce his base. Well, with this falling and first immortal out, I'll call that the first part of this video, since we have to be approaching 10 minutes at this point. So this will be the end of part 1. See you in part 2.